I'm honored to be here. Anything associated with Swami Vivekananda, particularly this year of commemoration of his 150th, is an honor, and to share a platform with Swami Chaitanananda is especially precious to me. And I want to thank the Vedanta Society of Kansas City and UMA especially for all the hospitality and invitation to be here. My book chronicles about 200 years of the history of Indian spiritual teachings, principally Vedanta, and the methodologies we think of as yoga, into American life. And the premise, which I think I support with ample evidence, is that these teachings have had a bigger impact on American life than we realize. It has changed the way we practice healthcare. It has changed psychology and our understanding of who we are and consciousness and the mind. And it has, above all, changed the way Americans understand what religion is and what it can be and how they engage their spirituality. This change has been profound. It has made this a better country, and I think it will continue to. The influence is, in some cases, obvious, but in a lot of instances, it is so subtle because it has come to us through so many different rivers and streams and tributaries that branch off from one another. And the teachings get adapted by individuals with certain expertise in certain areas of knowledge. And the language changes and the forms that is conveyed in change. And it seeps into the sort of soil of America over time to the point where vast numbers of Americans have been influenced by these teachings and have had their lives transformed for the better. And in some cases, they have no idea that there's anything Indian going on, or that they may never have heard the word Vedanta, but they are Vedantins in how they see the world and how they understand who they are and the practice of spirituality, because they acquired these insights through people who didn't necessarily speak the language of Vedanta or the language of Hinduism or the language of Buddhism, but integrated it into philosophy or psychology or even medicine and healthcare. And these principles have come to be so pervasive in our culture that you can trace the impact through, especially the last 40 or so years, in surveys and studies of how people understand what religion and spirituality is and what their attitudes about them are. I do that in the first chapter of American Veda to demonstrate the evidence. And since the book came out, which is now nearly 2 years, new surveys by the Pew Research Foundation and Gallup and so forth validate that assertion even more. And I won't belabor you with all the details, but the perspective that Swamiji just explained, what is Vedanta, what is the core principles of this eternal teaching, of this universal teachings, they are acknowledged and owned and advocated by increasing numbers of Americans over time. You see it in the surveys. Oneness, the acceptance that all spiritual paths, if taken deeply enough, lead to the same ultimate goal. the reversal of what used to be the primary focus of people's religious life, belief and dogma and membership in a tribe of spiritual tradition. Those have become secondary now to the search for inner experience, as Swamiji was saying. People have asserted the core Vedantic truth that we each must find our own individual path to God. And the beauty of the Vedantic teachings and the yogic teachings that have come here is that they've been embraced by people of all religions in the West, who have adapted it to their own ideas and their own ideals. But they've also been adapted and embraced and put into practical use by people who are not religious, people who are secular, people who are atheists, people who use them as self-improvement and as ways to understand themselves and life and our place in the universe. That is one of the best evidence that Vedanta is a universal teaching, is that it appeals to people of all religions and no religion. This phenomenon that you all have heard about, of people calling themselves spiritual but not religious, it's the fastest growing category in American religious life, especially among young people. They are, as Swamiji said, rejecting all the labels and all the dogmas. They just want spiritual growth and spiritual development. And that is what the East, what most people call Hinduism and Buddhism, that is what it has given us. And this flow of this great teaching from the East to the West, I think is one of the most significant and important developments in the history of the planet. So as I said, there's a lot of evidence for this, but I'm going to now play a couple of minute video. That's my favorite proof.
And you write this down, because this is something we're going to be using every Sunday from now on. Men, I need you to get it. Ladies, I want you to get it, but especially I want my men and boys to get it. Namaste. That's a Hindu term. Namaste. Say that. Say it again. Namaste, Jerome, means the divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. Y'all missed it. Namaste means the divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. Now, flag, this simply means I recognize that Bobby has some God in him. See, many of our boys don't have any respect for life. That's why it's so easy to kill them. So when I realize that Bobby got some God in him, just as I have some God in me, that will make me respect him not only physically, but I respect what I say about Bobby. We have not been taught to respect one another, so I need you to say it again. Namaste. Say it again. Namaste. The divinity within me salutes the divinity. Any teaching going on here today? And maybe that's why we have been mistreating one another for much too long. I want us to start today to say that word over and over. I want men and women, young and old, to start greeting one another instead of saying, what's happening? Young folk, when you greet somebody, namaste. Say it, wow. Namaste. Say it again. Namaste. What does that mean? The divinity within me salutes